Joeyd,
That guy.
Joeyd,
That guy.
Joeyd,
That guy.
Joey D.
What's up, YouTube? It's that guy Joey D, and welcome to the place to be. So today, I want to discuss with you guys what it's like being black and bipolar, as well as some of the challenges that I've had dealing with mental health. Because I know that I did touch on it in my last video as to why it was one of the reasons that I waited to start my YouTube channel. But today, I want to discuss it in a little bit more depth, because I know that talking about mental illness within the black community isn't that popular of a subject, but it's been on my heart and on my mind to talk about. But first, before we get started, I always have to say thank you to those of you that liked, that comment, and those of you that have subscribed to my channel. I really do appreciate it. So let's just get straight to it. The first point that I did want to bring up today is acceptance. You see, I never wanted to accept that I had a mental illness. I never wanted to accept that I may be mentally ill, because I never wanted to accept any of the diagnoses that I was ever given. You see, it wasn't always bipolar. You see, in the beginning, they told me that I may be dealing with depression. They told me that I may just be going through psychosis, as well as they told me that I may have schizophrenia. But either way, I didn't want to accept it. You see, I always felt that I was okay, but I knew that at some point in time that I wasn't always my best mentally. So I had to go get help. But trust me, I didn't always want help. And I wasn't always willing to go get help, because I felt like I don't want no help, I don't need no help, and I can do bad all by myself. But having that mentality as a young black man within the mental health system, that honestly led me into getting into some legal troubles as well as hospitalizations. And that is my second point. You see, I've been hospitalized more times than I can count. And you see, every time that I went into a hospital, I always felt as though it was my fault for having a mental illness. And that being a young black man, that these were just the cards that I was dealt. But I did grow to know that having a mental illness within the black community was more common than I grew to realize. But hospitalizations is just one of the first challenges that I had to deal with dealing with mental health. Now, moving on to my next point. Loneliness. You see, after all of the hospitalizations, I grew to feel alone, and I felt as though that I was going to forever be alone, because I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know who to trust. I felt as though that I was just alone with what I was going through, as well as I was alone with my thoughts. You see, I was always so used to being a part of something, because I am a former athlete. I played basketball, I played football, as well as I ran track. So being a part of a team was something that I was used to. But now here I am, just a young black man dealing with a mental illness. I felt so alone that I didn't know who to talk to or who I could trust with my thoughts. But that leads me to my next point. Therapy. I'll be honest. I hated going to therapy in the beginning. It was something that was just not for me, because I had never felt as though I was able to express myself, nor did I ever feel that I was able to talk about the things that I really wanted to talk about. Mainly because none of my therapists looked like me, sounded like me, or even talked like me. So that was something that I always felt like I was at fault, because I felt as though my words were always going to be used against me. But I did come to a point where I did find the right therapist, as well as I learned that having the right therapist was essential for my overall mental health, and it helped me grow and it helped me become a better person. But a reason as to why I'm here today, as well as my next point, support system. You see, from friends, family, as well as my therapist, they have all been there for me when I go through my hospitalizations, my legal troubles, as well as being there for me for my overall mental health. But the challenge was in the beginning, because I never trusted anyone with my mental health problem. You see, I never felt as though people were there to truly support me. But I grew to know that having the right support system was always essential. And if you're watching this video right now and you don't have a support system and you're dealing with a lot of mental health challenges, don't allow fear to stop you from continuing to reach out to people. And don't allow not being able to trust anyone to stop you from building that foundation and having the right support system. Because for me, it has always been the number one thing that allowed me to overcome a lot of my mental health challenges. But my last mental health challenge that I did want to touch on today was being comfortable to be myself. Being black and bipolar, I struggled with being comfortable enough to be myself, because I always felt as though I needed to be a certain way and that I could only do certain things. And I felt as though that I would never be able to fully enjoy my life. But what it all boiled down to was fear. Fear of what other people would think, as well as the fear of being just a little bit different than the next person. You see, what my pops always told me was, to thine own self be true. And to me, that always meant was true to myself and not to anyone else. So with dealing with all my mental health challenges, I learned that I had to be comfortable with myself to deal with my hospitalizations, and I had to accept who I was and where I was headed in my life. But I'm glad that I do have the right support system, as well as I'm thankful that I do go to therapy now. But there you have it. If you like this video, do me a favor, like, leave a comment, subscribe, and just keep this thing going and rolling. One day at a time until the end of time. Peace be the journey.
That guy. Joey. That guy. Joey. That guy. Joey. That guy. Joey D.